Hi, I'm Jerry Patch, the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory and the adapter of Christmas Carol. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to know more about South Coast Rep, A Christmas Carol, stay tuned. Well, I've been asked about, adapting A Christmas Carol, and the most honest answer I could give is a gorilla could adapt that story. It's such a good story. It's almost impossible to screw it up. But David and Martin decided that they, wanted to have a production of A Christmas Carol because there wasn't one in Orange County. And so I was asked to do an adaptation of it. And, I'd read my Dickens and whatnot. And I came up with a draft one summer. Essentially, it was I was living in Huntington Beach, about 400 yards from the beach, and I would get up at 5 a.m. before my kids got up, and sit down and try to put myself in foggy London, and at Christmas time, and write it there. And it actually was fairly easy because, as these things go, Dickens has given you everything. You don't really need anything other than what he's got in the story. So now it's a matter of what are the lines going to be? What are the characters going to say to one another? How is it going to evolve? But the redemption of Scrooge is the action of the play, and you just, go through with that. So, and then having written a draft of it, I spent literally years with John David Keller, the director, and Hal Landon, who was playing Scrooge, talking it through, talking it over, and we would refine it. I mean, I don't think we ever did the same script twice. We made changes. There were certain scenes that we changed every year until we felt like, okay, this is as close as we're going to get, that kind of a thing. But you never want to sit, and go, we're done on any kind of a production. You keep working, you keep trying to make it better. And this year is very interesting because we have a new director, Hisa Takakuwa, who had always been the assistant director on it, and mainly the wrangler and director of the children that are in the show. And Hisa's very good, Smith College, incredibly bright woman. So I'm eager to see what she's done with it and what Richard Doyle will do with Scrooge. And Doyle's perspective is interesting to me because I had this theory that if you were an actor and you watched another actor play a part, that you inevitably would be thinking, yep, no, I wouldn't do that, something else. And I asked Richard, I said, you've been half the parts in the play and now you're playing Scrooge. And he said, oh yeah, I have some ideas. So I think it's, he comes sort of like semi-loaded, if you will, into the first rehearsal because he's had so much experience with the play. And, it's going to be interesting to see what he as an artist brings to it that's different and new. So there are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. And part of that has to do with the fact that we're using children who are, enrolled in our conservatory, who audition for the show and are picked because they're good enough to do it. And this is meaningful in the sense that, they go to school, they have schoolmates, and they're classmates and their classmates' parents and other people come to see the show. There are people, this is the 41st year of A Christmas Carol, and I mean, that dates me certainly, but there are people who've seen every one of them. So it is like a church service in a way. It's kind of like a secular service. And I think we do that principally for the community. I mean, the myth or the cynical view, particularly from critics who, oh my God, not another Christmas Carol, this kind of a thing, is that you're just doing it for the money. Well, the money is nice, but no, the reason you do it is the community wants it. They use it to celebrate their Christmas. And so we've been lucky enough to be tasked with coming up with one. And, it's going very well for us. So, as I say, this is going to be a different kind of a year because of the changes we're making. But it's still going to be the same story that Charles Dickens told. And, Dickens, by the way, if people don't know, performed this himself. Jefferson Mays did A Christmas Carol at the Geffen Theater last year, all by himself, a one-man show, and played all the characters. And Dickens used to do that. And he would come to the United States and make a great deal of money touring, playing all of the Christmas Carol himself. First of all, it's quite musical. A friend of mine, Dennis McCarthy, who was in the Motion Picture Academy's Composers Hall of Fame, Dennis was, first of all, I've known Dennis since he was 9 years old and I was 11. And Dennis, as a teenager, played keyboards for the Beach Boys and the Hondells and some other people. If they couldn't get Leon Russell in a session, Dennis got hired. And then he became Glenn Campbell's music director when Glenn started out. And then he wound up, after a series of media assignments, writing as the principal composer for the Star Trek television series. And he worked on that for 18 years. And so Dennis is, a very talented composer. So he took a lot of traditional songs and blended them, made musical pastiches out of them. And there's a terrific score to this play, which Dennis created several years ago that we use. So I think if you come to our carol, that's one thing you're going to get. And the other is, as I say, not everybody uses children, certainly not to the extent that we do. And it's really kind of nice to see, that number of young people up on a stage, as well as a number of years ago now, we went to a complete diverse casting. So we don't, two things we don't do. It's just not all white people by any means. And second, what is the second? It just popped out. Oh yeah, we don't do the dialects. One of the things that we felt made it more accessible to more people who might not be accustomed to going to the theater is to do the show simply in general American dialect. And, some people say, well, they're in London. Yeah. And if you watch an Ibsen play in London, they all have British dialects, even though all those characters are in Norway. So, I mean, if it's good literature, you don't need to do it in dialects. So we think it's more accessible. I know when I go to London and listen to plays, it takes me 5 minutes just to get my ears tuned. And I'm very used to it, to once again listening to British actors. So I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory, and also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. We miss you.
Passerella is Teatro Mascala's signature production. For the past 32 years, Teatro Mascala has been presenting Passerella during, of course, the holiday season in December. Bill Virtus, the director, wanted to tell a story that was universal and yet had so much gravitational cultural pull to Mexico. He went to Mexico City and in the span of a few days sat and saw 35 different passerellas. He returned to San Diego and found a passerella play written by Mr. Moncalvo. And that's ironic, and I'll get to that in a moment. And every year since, it is a celebration. It actually is a musical. And it's, of course, the journey to the birth of Christ. But it is set in a battle of Satan versus, Gabriel. And to his credit, Bill has fashioned passerellas that there's some humor involved. For a few years, it was a kind of a commentary on what was going on in society. This year, we are reprising Moncalvo's original passerella that first ran so many years ago, and I'm so excited about that. It is a play that involves children, involves families. In the last few productions, people have come up to me afterwards and says, my granddad was one of the actors, or my brother was Gabriel, or the connections, the generational connections are astounding. We literally have 3 going on 4 generations of families who have participated. And it is, of course, become a tradition, particularly in the Latino community. The story is an old one, that of the pilgrimage of the shepherd leading the flock to what they believe, who they believe will be the Savior, the Christ child. And along their journey, they are challenged by Satan, the devil, who, of course, does not want this child born, and in fact is endeavoring to do away with the child. So all the while throughout the journey, the pilgrims are menaced by Satan and his devils, and somehow Gabriel is always able to come in and rescue these pilgrims. And of course, there's the inevitable fight between Satan and Gabriel. So they, of course, journey forward, and all along the way, they are singing songs like Silent Night, both in Spanish and English, and other songs that are more culturally attuned. And it's really a story of victory. It's a story of overcoming. It is set in a religious context, i.e., they're going to the Christ child, but I think it's a universal story about people overcoming, incredible odds and still moving forward with their dream, towards their dream. I think audiences love it because, number one, it's a family show. At the end of every passerella, we hang a piñata, and we invite all the kids. And there are some super sluggers out there, and the kids love it, and the families love it. I go to a lot of plays, and pretty much after the play is over, people pretty much, they go out. Passerella, they're like there for as long as they can, because they're talking about the play, they're talking to the actors. It's really kind of an intimate experience, and it goes deep to the heart of the yearnings and the struggles of not only Latino, but anybody who's in the audience. We all have, as they say, a cross to bear. We all have our journeys. We all have our challenges. And the spirit of these pilgrims that no matter what, they continue forward because their belief overcomes any obstacle before them. Well, what I believe, and I think I know what the audience experiences, is really a very positive and reinforcing, uplifting message that dreams are worth fighting for, that it's not just people with means that can overcome adversity. During the journey, we learned that these pilgrims barely have enough to eat. And yet when you see their spirit, they're happy because they're moving towards something. They know that a better day lies ahead. And I hope that vicariously the audience connects with that. And whatever they may be going through, they will get inspired and by the story and the courage that they're witnessing during the play. First of all, I just love it. I love the acting, and it's, of course, I've seen the rehearsals, and you'd think it would be, man, but no, it's great. I love the energy. Isn't that what theater is? Every theater production, every performance is different. It's unique. It's not a rerun. It's live. And so I love that part of it. And having been to the rehearsals, I love seeing the before and the after, the brilliant acting and singing and directing. But I'm also looking at the audience. I want to know, are they connecting? And I love it when the entire theater breaks out in applause or laughter or sometimes groans. That tells me they're connecting, that this is an interactive experience for them. So those are things that I look for. And I just love what it's bringing to the community. And I feel like I've used the word intimate before. It really is an intimate experience shared by a community. And I believe it has a lasting power. To anyone who's watching, you got to see this production. It is joyful, great music, great acting. It's a story you're not going to see a lot of places. And it's done with originality and authenticity. This could have almost a made in Mexico stamp on it. And I'm so happy to say that Teatro Mascara has a home. For so many years, we were actually like the pilgrims in the Pasarela, going from one theater to another. Well, guess what? We now have a home, and it's a beautiful home. It's a intimate theater of 90 seats, a brand new state-of-the-art technology, lighting, everything. I joke that it has a celestial vibe to it because it was built in what was the first Catholic church in San Isidro. And it still has all it's just the inside that was renovated. So it's a beautiful production. It's a beautiful story. And it's a slice of culture that many are probably not going to be exposed to. And I think that unlike some theater productions, this is really, you will feel the connections, the energy of the community that you're sitting with. So I can't say enough or encourage enough people to, and by the way, the tickets are almost nothing. I think our top ticket is $20. And groups of 10, it's $10 a ticket. So you can take 10 people for $100. So come on, get your tickets. We open December 8th. We close December 23rd. This is Luis Aragon, Managing Director of the great theater company Teatro Máscara Mágica. Come and see our pasarela. Get tickets now. Get them now. Only 16 performances. I will see you there.
I'm Jerry Wright, Executive Director of Arizona Theater Company. And if you want to learn a little bit more about ATC and the Wickham's Christmas at Pemberley, listen to this video. The Wickham's is a really unique story. The playwrights are incredibly talented. Sean Daniels has a long-standing relationship with Lauren Gunderson. And so he was excited to bring last year's show, the Bennett Sisters, Christmas at Pemberley, and then this year's, which is the second in the series, the Wickham's. It's a fun, lovely show for the holiday. It's witty, and it's just light, just what everybody needs at the holiday time. So these two playwrights are incredibly talented in that they are they kind of feed off of each other, right? They share the story, right? They are the story of the Wickham's is very it's relationships thread through it. You know, there's drama, there's humor, there's love, there's angst, all of it. It's everything that, you know, we go through as people, and these playwrights really weave it together beautifully for the Wickham's. You know, when you come to the Wickham's, we just want you to enjoy yourself, know that it's holiday time, and have good cheer, and really just come to the theater, enjoy the show, and remember it, and come back with your family members. So I love the holiday time, right? I love the holiday season. It's my favorite time. So I look forward to when I went to, I've seen the Wickham's a couple times now, and every time I go, I'm always looking at the costumes and the innuendos, and I'm just looking at the general feeling as well as the detail, because I am mesmerized by the amount of talent it takes to put the show on stage, and really looking at the costumes and the timing, right? When actors come out on stage and another one goes back. And I find that all intriguing, and Wickham's does not disappoint, besides it being just a lovely story. I'd love to say that everybody must attend the Wickham's at Arizona Theater Company this holiday season, but I'd like more to say that I hope that everybody does, because I think it is a family story and it is live theater, and we're back, and hoping that more and more Arizonans come out to Arizona Theater Company to enjoy being together. I think the three plays, well, the two, the Christmas at Pemberley and then the Wickham's, are lovely Jane Austen. I'm a Jane Austen fan, so that really plays into it. And I know Arizona Theater, we were really looking for something that the family could attend during the holidays. We found it in both of these two plays. I'm Jerry Wright, Executive Director for Arizona Theater Company, and I hope you come and enjoy the Wickham's Christmas at Pemberley this year at ATC.
there are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory and also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. We miss you.
So our run of Chris Kirkpatrickmas this time around is in part to help fund our dream of going to the Edinburgh Fringe next August. We are really passionate about bringing it over there. Valen and I actually met in Edinburgh. We met online. Valen was already living over there, and I moved over there after college. And I was looking for a place to live at the exact moment when she happened to be looking for a roommate. And she advertised on Gumtree, which is kind of like their version of Craigslist. And I saw the ad and responded. And that is where all of this began. It was this weird twist of fate. So for us, going back to Edinburgh personally is this full circle moment. But it also, I mean, the Edinburgh Fringe is, the biggest fringe festival in the world. And it's so exciting. There's all this opportunity. So many amazing shows kind of got their start at Edinburgh, including Six, which Josh is now working on. And for us, we feel as though this show would do really well there. We're so excited to bring it there and introduce it to that audience and see where it goes after that. I'm Allison Zada.
And I'm Valen Short.
And if you would like to learn more about our musical Chris Kirkpatrickmas, please, listen to this interview. I think that the theater experience is such a unique format because it's something that you can really only experience live and together with this group of people that are coming from who knows where. You might never see any of these people again, but for these 1 to 2 hours, you are having this shared experience that everyone is part of. And I think it's really transformative. And to be able to help create that experience for people is magical. Valentina and I both loved theater all our lives and been part of that experience from an audience perspective. And you walk out of that theater changed if it's gone well. And I think that some people are walking out of our show feeling that way. And it's really special.
I first fell in love with theater in middle school. I was the student director of Wizard of Oz because I was too afraid to try out. And I played the piano during whatever that song is that I'm Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And that was a pretty inspiring experience, and I was hooked ever since.
I first fell in love with theater when I was a kid, and my older brother Steven was in a high school production of The Crucible. He played John Proctor, and he's 10 years older than me. And I just remember going and watching my big brother on stage and thinking that was such an incredible thing to get to do. And I wanted to do it too. And so then I started doing all of my school shows, and in middle school had the opportunity to be a part of the child company in a professional production that was in my town. And I got hooked. So from there on, it's been ongoing. I've been writing forever. I think that I probably fell in love with writing as a way to kind of correct things that I felt like weren't going the way I thought they would in my life. So I would write alternate versions where they went the way that I wanted them to go, like fanfic of my own existence, I guess. And then from there, I just, reading was always my greatest pleasure in life. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, and things would change, but the books that I brought with me were always the consistent thing that kept me grounded and made me feel like I was at home. And then to realize that I could be someone who also made those books, that felt really good to me. So I writing prose was something that I did for a long time. And then once I started getting more involved in theater and like started reading scripts for movies and TV shows as well, I'm realizing that was something that people did, because for a long time, like I didn't even know that people made those things. It didn't occur to me as a child. And then eventually you're like, oh, there's someone doing this and I could do that. So yeah, we started writing. And then when Valen and I met each other, we just had so many incredibly shared ideas that we wanted to bring to life, and working together just was a natural part of our friendship. So we've been creating together for as long as we've known each other.
Yeah. And I started writing music when I was 7 years old. I play by ear, and I taught myself how to play. But like Allison, didn't really understand that it was something people did, but I was just kind of figuring it out. And it was a big part of my life from that point. Like a therapeutic kind of thing. And when I turned like 17 or 18 and my parents got divorced, I wrote a lot about that and helped me get through it. And I would say that's when my songs started taking a turn, and I couldn't stop writing them. I personally love musicals because I don't think you can find another 360-degree experience of art in the same exact way as music theater. And just the idea that a song can push the narrative and the story, and that it's a way for the characters to express something that they couldn't normally do in everyday life. It has to be spectacular. It has to be fantastical, and just, the emotions overtake them. It's just a fascinating way to incorporate music and story together. I think we've done it as a human species.
Yeah, I think Valen said that beautifully. I think for me, musicals, I think the first time that I saw a musical and was just completely gobsmacked by the possibilities that musical theater provided was when I was in middle school and saw a high school production of Into the Woods, which sounds like it would be not great, but it was the most fantastic thing I'd ever seen. I don't know, these kids they should all be on Broadway. I don't know what they're doing now, but I had never heard Sondheim before. And hearing those lyrics and how clever they were, and just how smart, and how, as Valen says, like the narrative was in the songs. It's not just like there's a song, we're going to sing about it, and then the story moves on. It was like all just tied up in this. He's just a genius, right? He was incredible, and that to me is the height of what you can do. So from like his wordplay has always been the thing that's inspired me. And then you can't say things sometimes, but you can sing them.
Chris Kirkpatrickness came about as an idea 10 years ago. We were at our friends Laura and Bethany's apartment, and we were just joking around, as we often did. And we thought, hey, wouldn't it be funny if Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC had a Christmas musical about him called Chris Kirkpatrickmas? And it really just should have ended there. But instead, Allison and I, we locked eyes across the room, and it was kind of this, like, I refer to it as a death glare, although the intentions were purer than that. And we knew we had to at least start it. So we started writing songs in our apartment. We were roommates at the time in Los Angeles. And we would keep coming back together to write it. It kind of became an obsession on its own. It's been through so many rewrites, so many revisions, so many breaking it down and building it up again from the bottom. The songs kept coming. And the story kept evolving in ways that made us laugh. And I think we just kept trying to make each other laugh, honestly. And that's why we kept doing it.
Yeah, the great thing about working with Valen is that we do have very similar senses of humor, but we also have, we have very different approaches and very different backgrounds and skill sets. Like the music that she is able to hear in her head and then like put out of her head into the world. I don't even know how anyone does that. It seems like witchcraft to me, but I wish I had that power, but I don't. And then I sometimes I'll hear like conversations, which sounds a little loopy, but it's true. And together we are able to create something that I don't think either of us could have done on our own, or I know I couldn't have done it on my own for sure.
Same.
Yeah. And we would just, over the years, we would, it was a joke at first, but we were like, if we were going to do it, which we're not going to do because it's so silly, we would have a song about this and let's just write it. And then we would do that. And then eventually, 7 or 8 times later, we realized we had almost a whole show and we should probably just finish it. And then
so we wrote 4 more songs.
And during, when we were all kind of locked down in 2020, we had some time on our hands. And at that point, Valen and I were no longer roommates, but we decided to meet up on Zoom and finish up the show, which we did. So Chris Kirkpatrickmas, a boy band Christmas musical, is set on Christmas Eve 2009, when Chris Kirkpatrick of the boy band NSYNC has a big decision to make, and he has a chance to make a Christmas wish, but he only has until the clock strikes midnight to make it. And we like to think of it as a combination of A Christmas Carol meets It's a Wonderful Life meets NSYNC.
Yep.
Alan, do you want to talk about the other characters?
I mean, the other characters are the other members of NSYNC, and with that ensemble feeling of a boy band, we kind of, I don't know how to explain it. They change into different ensemble characters. There's a very special angel character played by Allison, a throwback to one of the original 90s boy bands. New Kids on the Block. So there's something for everybody, we'd like to think, but especially millennials and Gen Xers.
Yeah, the nice thing about having the structure be these familiar stories like A Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life is that even if you're coming in not knowing anything about NSYNC or you're not sure where the story is going, I think that people do feel like, oh, I kind of know, because we know the structure of A Christmas Carol, right? We know It's a Wonderful Life. It's going to be someone kind of revisiting key moments in their past and figuring out why they are where they are. So I think that gives people something to latch on to, and then we get to take them on this fantastical journey.
Yeah, the important main themes of this musical: identity, discovery, and what Allison says that I have always really liked is what happens on the other side of a dream come true. You want to add to that, Allie?
Yeah. I think that, as Valen said, the identity is a huge theme in this. And yeah, what happens on the other side of a dream come true? Because, we're all, everyone in the cast and, we working on it. This is from a very Los Angeles place. All of us are people who moved out here for, industry reasons to try to achieve these dreams, and with varying levels of success, but it never works out quite the way you picture it when you're, home in your bedroom in your parents' house. Right. And we have no idea what it was like to be in NSYNC and have that immense success and then have that kind of end, but also continue, and just be in that in between place, which is where our show takes place. But we have experienced in our own careers, a lot of ups and downs and near misses and near hits, so we play a lot with that, and we try to imagine and explore what it is like to kind of achieve that thing that you wanted, but maybe it didn't go exactly as planned.
And what would happen if you're Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC in 2009 and you get visited by a Christmas angel and he takes you on a journey about your life with NSYNC?
Yeah, I mean, and we have no idea that probably didn't happen. We made that up, but who's to say? But yeah, we just had a lot of fun with it, and overall, it's just supposed to be a joyous Christmas celebration. It's a feel good show. We want people to walk out of it feeling happy and positive and optimistic about the future.
We were both inspired by classic musical theater tropes and having fun with that as well. And I think what ended up happening because of that is an interesting blend of classic musical theater and totally just alternative comedy absurdness.
Yeah.
but it feels like it works because of the familiarity, as Allison was saying, of that musical theater ride. So we're not coming at you with anything too zany that it can't be absorbed like that.
Yeah, and Valen's background is more in the pop sphere, I guess you'd say. So the musical influences are really interesting. I think it's less like traditional musical theater and more into that that boy band world at times. And Valen is really able to do all of those styles, so we get to use all of those styles in the show, which is really cool. Our cast is phenomenal. We could not be more fortunate. We actually, when we were first writing the show, we didn't expect or assume that we would be in it. We kind of thought that we would cast it, more traditionally with maybe like people who kind of looked like the people in real life. But then at a certain point, we thought, well, maybe it should be us, because at a certain point, it seemed that Valen had to play Chris, just because like the songs were so like they were, no one could do them better than she could. And then I was playing Marky Mark, and then we thought, hey, like who else do we know? And we know a lot of amazingly talented people in Los Angeles who are perfect for these parts. And we just started reaching out to our friend circle of amazing, wonderful people, and we were so fortunate that they were all like, yeah, we'll be in your NSYNC musical.
Riley Rose Critchlow, who plays Lance Bass, but is also our assistant director. Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Is the reason why the show is as funny as it is.
Yeah. Because we're on stage so much of it that and Riley is the one who is watching and directing us and making sure that we are able to, have the story be told in the way that it should be. Like visually, they have this wonderful their brain. I want to hug it.
Comedic brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and Riley's also an incredible Lance and plays other characters as well on the show. Everyone except for us plays multiple characters and is doing so many quick changes. I literally have no idea how it's happening backstage because we're on stage while it's happening. But yeah, Riley is phenomenal.
And then there's Nicole Weiland, who plays Justin Timberlake. Had to have a really big voiced person to handle the charisma of Justin Timberlake. And we found out with Nicole, she was the perfect casting and honestly kind of looks like him in that wig.
It's so strange.
It's just an added bonus.
We had no idea about Nicole. She's such a hider of talents. Like we asked, do you sing? And she was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of sing. Can we see a video? And she was like, oh yeah, I'll send you a video. And then she sent us this video of her singing this song. I think it was from Waitress. And it was just like, it was
mind-blowing.
We literally started to cry while we were listening to her sing the song. And we'd been friends with her, but we had no idea that she had that voice. And she has a background in musical theater, which is apparent when you see her on stage.
We have Emily Lambert playing the antagonist, Lou Pearlman, former boy band manager to the Stars. And Emily is a very petite, brilliant comedic performer. You won't find another 100% totally committed actor the way you find Emily Lambert. And she's able to embody the spirit of Lou Pearlman inside of her, 5-foot frame and makes it so funny and disarming. So we're so lucky to have her brilliance.
Yeah, and she's incredible. Just on the topic of Emily, she's also she's mainly she does headshot photography now. She's an extremely talented and highly sought after professional headshot photographer based in New York and Atlanta. And we were able to coax her out of acting retirement because she doesn't do it as much anymore. And I'm so glad that she is back on the stage because something happens when those lights hit her and the audience is there. It's incredible.
Yeah. Emily and I were friends in middle school. We were in our very first musicals together, and that Wizard of Oz performance I was talking about, she played the Cowardly Lion and single-handedly inspired me to audition for the musical the next year. So if it weren't for her, anyway. Yeah. Then we have Elizabeth Ho playing Joey Fatone and others. Elizabeth brings, again, just like so much comedy to the show and is just a very smart actor and brings all the energy, and there's so many good things to say about Liz.
Liz is the one who keeps us honest, I would say. Her knowledge of structure and story, and just like, she is this wealth of wonderful information. And as we were writing this, we were sharing various drafts of the script along the way with the actors, and Liz always had such wonderful questions that made everything stronger. And if it weren't for that, we wouldn't be where we are. Like, she really she helped to refine some very specific moments along the way, and we are immensely grateful. And then, of course, she's also just like super funny and great at everything she does. I like to say that if everyone else just like couldn't make it one night, Liz could probably do the entire show herself, and it would be fantastic.
True. We also were very familiar with Liz on a different project of ours that we're working on. It's very different from this show, but it's called Real Housewives of Dungeons and Dragons, and she plays a character called Dr. Christina, which I cannot get enough of. She's brilliant in it, and she's just got everything. You want to talk about Mia's?
I would love to talk about Mia. Mia Karina Malacone is our, I think, 7th cast member. Have we named everybody? And Mia is she's one of my friends from back when I first moved to Los Angeles. One of the people that I met back then that I'm still close with. She's one of the OGs. And I met her because my brother Christopher, who's a writer-director, he was working on a project that I was in because he had to cast me because I'm his sister. And then Mia was also in it, and we met there, and I immediately just, she's just one of those people that everyone just like immediately is like, Mia, like, I want Mia in my life forever. You can't not love Mia. And so we were in that project together, and then I've worked with her numerous times over the years. She's extremely talented, extremely funny, beautiful singer, and she's just also just such a lovely person. And so you just, I was so happy to bring her into this group, knowing that she would fit in so perfectly, and she does. And she plays JC, and she also plays a character named Barista Mary, who is pretty instrumental in the show. And yeah, she's just a glorious, lovely human, and I love her very much.
We are all in our mid-30s, and we learned boy band dance moves for this show. So
I would love to mention our choreographer, Lily Fuller. She is fantastically talented. She started out, we got her through Riley. We get most people through Riley. Riley is a human Rolodex of brilliant people. So anytime you are like, I need someone, or I'm looking for, Riley knows them, and
Elizabeth Ho, Nicole Weiland.
Yeah, exactly. And Lily Fuller. And they went to college together at USC, and Lily, I think she started there choreographing. I can talk. A lot of stuff there. And from there, her career has been phenomenal. Her work has been seen on the stage at Carnegie Hall. Like, she's an award-winning choreographer. We were so lucky to have her because the stuff that she came up with is out of this world. Like, there's one song in particular, the boy band song, and the moves that she has incorporated for these boy band dances. You just have to see it to believe it. I can't even imagine how she did that, and it's so hilarious and so accurate, but we were very lucky to have Lily.
What I want the audience to get out of this very special Christmas musical is like a different perspective, I think, on what it means to be not just an artist, but somebody with a dream. And the full story of what that dream is, because oftentimes I think the story ends at when the dream comes true, instead of the very real aftermath of what that means to assign value of your life to this thing that represents success. So I think that there's something in that, but also I would just love people to have a good time. Yeah. It's a fun ride. Every time we get on it, those themes are in there, but you wouldn't know it to begin with. We don't want the audience to feel like there's any responsibility of getting anything bigger out of the show than just the fact that it is absurd. So first and foremost, laughing and laughing and having fun with the songs and the ride. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think Valentina said that beautifully. We just want people to have fun. We want people to maybe learn a little bit about NSYNC and give Chris Kirkpatrick the respect and admiration that he is due, because he did start that band. And some people, it seems like that information was like not widely known for a long time because he wasn't the breakout star, you know, that Justin Timberlake became, for example. But Chris Kirkpatrick is the reason that band existed. And he is just a very impressive person, and we, you know, we respect him greatly, and we hope that everyone else does too.
Part of the original idea, and this was always our motive for doing the show as well, is no one has told this story about Chris before.
Yeah.
And it felt like the more research we did, accidental at first, but then became an obsession, especially for Allison. Allison, it became really important for her, and then for me, for it to be historically accurate. And it is.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we've taken some liberties, you know, like the fact that it's set in Los Angeles at this particular time, and, you know, all of the guys are there. Like, that's, you know, not probably how it was actually going on. But the events of NSYNC's history that we talk about, and a lot of little references along the way, there's a lot there. There's like an iceberg underneath of kind of deep cuts for the people who do know the NSYNC history. And for people who don't, it does guide you really, I think, really smoothly along their history.
the facts of what happened, and particularly with Chris's story, is so interesting on its own.
Mm-hmm.
We probably didn't need to add all the Christmas stuff to it for it to be an interesting story, but it is a fun twist, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well, we can make a formal invitation right now. NSYNC, if you are listening to this, you are invited. We have reserved seats for you every night. Also, we do know that they know of it. Chris's manager came to our opening night over the summer when we were doing Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very supportive. She did ask why we did this.
Fair question.
Yes, but was, you know, very, how do you say it? I think that she loved it.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think she appreciated it because it's true, and it's positive, and it, you know, it's you know, I as Valen said, people aren't talking about this story, and it's worth talking about. And we did, you know, we let them know that we were doing the show again, and they were very supportive of that as well. So yeah, we would love for everyone to come see the show. Anyone who wants to, just, you know, email us.
And in our long-term dreams, we would love for them to play these parts, or maybe play
each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Justin can play Chris and Chris can play Justin, and really switch it up.
Be exciting.
Who knows?
Anything can happen.
I think it really does feel like a ride when you're performing it. So I think that, you know, the thing that I look forward to the most is having fun and having that back and forth with the audience, because it's a relationship, you know. They're trusting you to take care of them through this story, and they're letting you know that it's working through claps and laughs. And that give and take. I come from the music world, and a lot of my artist music is quite serious, I would say. It's been in a lot of dramatic TV and film type things. So being able to do a comedy has been so refreshing for that reason, to be able to have that relationship and that back and forth with the audience. I don't typically get to sing songs where people laugh. So it's been really exciting for me and really stimulating. And that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. For me, it's hard to separate writing from the performance of it, because I do, you know, when the audience laughs at a line, the writer part of my brain is just like, check, you know, but at the same time, I think as an actor, I feel the best when the show goes by so quickly and I don't even know, you know, there are these moments where you're so invested in it and you're so present that like you kind of lose the awareness of the fact that you're, you know, crouched on this hardwood stage in the middle of West Hollywood and you're just having this experience. And that it's such a fun it doesn't always happen. But when you manage to get on that roller coaster and it goes and you're with it and you're just in it, and at the end of it, you're like, I don't even know what just happened. But like, yeah, that feeling as an actor is that's what I love. And it can be challenging to, you know, wear so many hats because there's not as much time to just to focus on the acting part of it, which is, you know, probably the most fun part. But I really do appreciate that. Like there are times when I'm on stage with Valen and we're having this moment and it just like all of a sudden we're like, yeah, you know, we're here and we're doing this thing that we said we were going to do. And I'm just so proud and honored that we get to do it.
It can be really trippy at times because, you know, we started writing this 10 years ago. And when we were writing it, we would imagine as we were writing it, what it would kind of feel like to be on stage doing, you imagine the story with that in mind.
Yeah.
And there are times where I'm on stage with Allison and we're doing a scene together as Chris and Marky Mark. And it's just the way that we imagined it. But it's real life.
Yeah.
And that is weird, but I'm here for it. But there will be these little moments. I felt it last night, Allison. I don't know if you did when we were on our last scene together, where we were wrapping things up, and I was just like I had this moment. I was like, yeah, there's my best friend. Like we did it. We're on stage. That's our last scene. We did it.
We did it.
So there's something incredibly fulfilling and satisfying about seeing what we're made of with this project.
Yeah.
You should attend even if you know nothing about NSYNC, but you should especially attend if you do. You know, the It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Carol thing really we have found works for any age, especially like older than the typical NSYNC fan.
Yeah.
You should see the show if you want to laugh. Like we've had a hard couple of years as like a species, you know, this is a good time, I think, to escape. And I am so proud that our show is able to do that for people. It seems, at least for us, like we're having so much fun doing it that it's been very cathartic.
Yeah. And you should see the show also to kind of, we have some pretty cool people who have worked on this show, some Broadway folks. We have Taylor Williams and Josh Milliken, and Taylor is our music director. He did a lot of the arranging. That Valen can speak the music language a lot better than I can.
All the orchestrations.
Yeah, and Josh is our sound designer, and they are both Broadway guys. Taylor actually has a show opening on Broadway this weekend that's doing phenomenally well. Yeah, and so like it's a very it's a cool way for people in LA to kind of get a little taste of what these New York guys are up to, I think, as well. But yeah, come out. Just come out.
Josh Milliken is a Tony Award-winning sound designer. He worked on Six. Taylor worked on the original production of Hamilton in New York. So we're so incredibly lucky to have them for this, what was supposed to just be a cardboard box musical, but now has been legitimized a little bit by these incredible talents.
Yeah, and we have also with us, we have Alex Reeves as our sound mixer and Hannah Cairo as our stage manager, both of whom are phenomenal. Hannah was with us starting with our Fringe production in the summer, and we kept her, and we will keep her forever because she is delightful. And then Michaela Molden, who did our lights, is also phenomenally talented. So it's just a wonderful grouping of people, and I think people should come to see it and hang out with us afterwards at our boy band Christmas party, because we're all there after every show hanging out to chat with people. But yeah, I mean, it's Christmas time in LA. Come celebrate with Chris Kirkpatrickmas.
We have at least 7 Christmas trees at our venue.
At least. And more every day. Yeah, a boy band Christmas party takes place after every show. We're at the Actors Company in West Hollywood, and they have a couple of spaces. So our theater is one of the spaces, and the space next door is for our Christmas party. So after every show, the cast goes over there to hang out. We have it all decorated. There's music playing. The lights are super fun, and we just hang out there. And we have, a raffle with some fun prizes. There's drinks. There's merch, and it's just a great time to hang out for an hour or so, listen to some boy band music, and hang out with all your new friends. So our run of Chris Kirkpatrickmas this time around is in part to help fund our dream of going to the Edinburgh Fringe next August. We are really passionate about bringing it over there. Valen and I actually met in Edinburgh. We met online. Valen was already living over there, and I moved over there after college. And I was looking for a place to live at the exact moment when she happened to be looking for a roommate, and she advertised on Gumtree, which is kind of like their version of Craigslist. And I saw the ad and responded. And that is where all of this began. It was this weird twist of fate. So for us, going back to Edinburgh personally is this full circle moment. But it also, the Edinburgh Fringe is, the biggest fringe festival in the world. And it's it's so exciting. There's all this opportunity. So many amazing shows kind of got their start at Edinburgh, including Six, which Josh is now working on. And for us, we feel as though this show would do really well there. We're so excited to bring it there and introduce it to that audience, and see where it goes after that.
I want as many people to see me in red camo pants as possible.
I think our goals for the musical, we have so many. We're just starting out, and we don't really know how it's going to go or where it's going to go. There's a version of it where we we do the show in LA at Christmas every year, which would be super fun. There's a version of it where, we bring it to Chicago or New York and do it there. There's a version where we go to Edinburgh and we end up doing it in London, which would be, I would die. That would be amazing. But, we just don't know yet. We're just starting out. We're so open to whatever possibilities we get with it. We just, as Valen said, we want as many people as possible to come see it and to enjoy it. And yeah, we'll take this ride wherever it goes.
Yeah. Sharing it is really, now that it's done, and because we, for so long couldn't show people this because it wasn't done.
Yeah.
But we had been working on it so long. We had so many fragments of it. And it didn't really make sense out of context as much as we would have liked it to other people. So it's just really nice also to be able to finally pull back the curtain and be like, that thing that we've been
the thing we've been talking about for 10 years.
I've had some friends come to the show, and they were like, afterwards, they were very complimentary, and they were saying things like, Valen played me demos like 8 years ago, and I was like, what is going on? But, just not believing that we were actually continuing to work on this, but they were very pleased with the end result, and happy that we did. It's been fun to show people what the absurdity turned into.
Yes, exactly. I think Chris Kirkpatrickmas would be a great annual LA show. We feel as though, because it is, there's a lot in it that deals with dreams and frustrated dreams, and also, achieving that success and trying to figure out who you are if you achieve your dreams or if you don't, and how much of your identity is wrapped up in what you thought your life would be versus what it is. I think that is, oh gosh, we all get that, right? LA is full of that. And we really explore it and celebrate it in our show. And I do think that audiences here in Los Angeles will continue to respond to that. And it's super fun. I think that
it takes place here. It takes place, like our opening Village song. It takes place in a Los Angeles Starbucks on Hollywood and Vine, which I understand
recently closed, very recently,
but it was open in 2009.
Yeah, it's the one right across from the Pantages, which is no longer there. But yeah, it's just, I think that also because it's set in 2009 and the past, there's not really a danger of it getting dated because it's already dated on purpose, So I think that it will continue to be relevant in the same way that we that we want it to, unless of course something very different happens within sync and we need to update the script to address it. We'll see.
And I think no matter where the show goes, it will always have its first home and a home in Los Angeles, because it takes place here, because it was born here, because, for so many reasons, was very inspired by the industry life here, even though I think it is relatable beyond that specific pathway. But it will always be a Los Angeles born and bred musical.
Yeah.
I'm Valen Shore, and you should come see this musical. We're at Chris Kirkpatrick Miss Musical on Instagram, and you can find our websites and ticket links at www.chriskirkpatrickmiss.com, or you can just Google Chris Kirkpatrick Miss or try, and I think it will come up now.
I'm Allison Zada, and I, like Valen, would love for you to come see Chris Kirkpatrick Miss at the Actors Company this December and hang out afterwards at the boy band Christmas party. We would love to see you there. It's super fun, and we'd love for you to follow along with the show and see where we go next, because maybe we'll be back. Maybe we'll be in Scotland. Who knows? Only one way to find out. Follow us. That's the way.
There are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory and also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. You know, we miss you.
Knowing Lauren's voice, I hear her voice in my head when I am directing or performing one of her plays. The thing that I think in playwriting that they have mastered is the mix of high stakes drama alongside hilarious slapstick comedy, undercut by the depth of internal realization and emotion that the characters have regarding life, love, family, large issues that we deal with. And so you've got drama, comedy, and then these amazing internal truths about human beings and who we are and how we relate to one another. And it's all wrapped up in one script, always. It's incredible. They're masters. Hi, my name is Veronica Durr. I'm the director of The Wickham's Christmas at Pemberley here at Arizona Theater Company. If you'd like to learn more about our play, listen along. The Wickham's Christmas at Pemberley takes place in the same time frame that Miss Bennet Christmas at Pemberley takes place. The difference is that in Miss Bennet, you are watching what is happening upstairs in the drawing room, the grand library, and in the Wickhams, you are witnessing what is happening downstairs in the servants' quarters. But the two plays do take place simultaneously. So if you saw Miss Bennet last year, there are certain references that are made in the Wickhams that if you're listening and paying attention, you'll clue into and say, oh my gosh, that was a conversation that we watched upstairs last year that they're now referencing downstairs. Now, the playwrights are such masters that you do not have to have seen the other show to understand the Wickhams. But if you did, it's kind of like finding Easter eggs, it's like little clues that are really fun to catch on to. I think for any holiday entertainment, what I would most like the audience to get out of it is a sense of joy, a sense of togetherness, appreciation of friendship and family. But the show is so lovely, it goes beyond that. It goes into who are we as human beings, what do we value, and how do we treat each other, which I think are three really beautiful and important tenets of life to think about at Christmas time, or during the holiday season. It's a time to reevaluate who we are as human beings and who we want to be in this world. And this play does that, as well as make you laugh. There are a lot of reasons why I would say any particular audience member must attend this play. One being, coming out of a global pandemic, the arts in this country are in dire situations. And your participation in the arts is what is going to keep us alive. And I do believe that what we do is extremely important. The arts remind us of our humanness and of who we are as human beings and how we participate in the world around us. And I think that that's an important thing to be a part of, whether you're on stage doing it or whether you're in the audience participating, because even audience, it is a participation. It is not just a it's not watching Netflix. It's not sitting back and having something in front of you that you can pause or you can walk away from at any moment. It is live. It is feet in front of your face, human beings right in front of your face, and the energy that you give out informs their energy output as well. It is a known fact that when a group of people get into an audience together, their heartbeats begin to synchronize. I mean, that's scientific fact. Come synchronize your heartbeat with us. Come be a part of us. We want you to. We need you to. Without you, there's no reason for us to try and tell the stories that we try to tell. And what a better time to come synchronize your heartbeat than during the holidays. Come join us. It's our 55th season. We made it through a global pandemic. Not every theater company can say that. I'm unbelievably proud of the actors, the crew, the designers, the entire team that worked on this show. We have a beautiful set. We have an incredible script. And we have an entire house here waiting for you. Come join us.
the show started at the holidays, and then it was running in the spring, so it was just kind of a generic party, but it kind of settled back into the holidays, and that's when it became what it is today. It's kind of a holiday tradition, and we have people that come every year to see it. We have, it's really fun. Story arc is that Bob Finhead is a frustrated insurance agent. He really wants to be something bigger. He has this dream to be an inventor because he wants to change the world with his inventions, even though his inventions are pretty harebrained. And he wants to get out of town, and he wants to go to this inventing college in the big city of Des Moines, Iowa. And so his best friend, Sheriff Joe, doesn't want him to leave town because he's afraid of change. He doesn't want any change. He wants everything to stay the way it is. So that's kind of the arc. And Bob is having an affair with the mayor's wife, Margie Mincer, and so he's trying to figure that relationship out. And Mayor Roy, he has, without tipping it too much, he has some secrets in his life. So he doesn't, the relationship is kind of between he and his wife is very tenuous. And Bob is frustrated that Margie won't just be with him. And so Bob just kind of wants to get out of town. And the other characters that are in town that come to the party are LaDonna and Lavoris Johnson. They're the richest farmers in the county. They're these twin single spinster, I guess is the word to use, farmers that are very conservative. And they come, and then another character that shows up is Marty. He's the town handyman, and he's kind of a stoner character. And then we have a visit from Carol, who's the minister's wife. She comes in to drop off some napkins, and she announces that she's going to go to the Lutheran talent show, or the Lutheran church, and she's going to sing a song at the talent show. So we all get her to sing a song, and she's very shy, and that turns into a very it's a very entertaining moment in the show when she sings her song. And then the other character that comes in at the beginning of the play is Elwyn Bewey, who was a person that they grew up in the town, and for some reason didn't get along with everybody, and they picked on him, and they pretty much bullied him, and he got out of town and became very successful. And he's a multi-millionaire, and he's coming back to town to visit, and he wants to he has some agenda. It comes clear why he's in town, but he comes back, and that brings up a lot of memories and uncovers a lot of old wounds. And so he has to work through that, and we all have to work through that. And then our last character that comes into the play is Brandy, who's how do I say that? She's the woman in town that's always hanging out at the bar that she always wants Sheriff Joe to put her in the handcuffs and take her down to and he says later, we'll talk about that later. And so she brings a little bit of spice to the party. So the party starts out very, very orderly and prim and proper, and by the end of the show, it's everything's come undone. There's a lot of drinks spilled and cheese balls on the floor, and a lot of secrets revealed. I think we going back to that original show idea, I think we just had some ideas and we wanted to try these out. So Joe and I have known each other for a long time, and he's very funny and a real storyteller. And that first show was just him coming in and kind of telling stories, and we've kept a lot of those things. And it's just how we work off each other. I play kind of the straight man. Bob is the straight man, who's kind of he's the one that the audience looks to as to keep everything grounded in reality, because all the other characters are so extreme. And the people that we have with us, we kind of have a connection to the Midwest. There's people that we've met. Like I mentioned, that first show, the Girly Magazine Party, Mark Fight was in that show. And Mark has been a performer out here for, since how long would that be? 30 years or more. He has a lot of characters, and he's always doing shows around town. He has a great show that he does at the three clubs called the Tony Martini Hour. And he's very funny. And he plays the character of Marty. And that's a character that he created with his act Two-Headed Dog that he does with Jim Turner. And so we've got Marty in our show. So he's doing his character there. We have the actors that are playing the twins this year. Johanna Mackay has been doing it over the past few years. And we have Judy Hennigan coming in. She's done it once before. In the past few years, we've had Miley Flanagan and Melissa Denton playing the parts. And due to scheduling, Melissa got a job in Minneapolis, so she's not able to do the show this year. And Miley is very busy. She's does a lot of Comic-Cons because she's a voiceover actress and very well known. She does the voice of that Japanese anime Naruto. So because of that, she has a lot of weekend appearances. And she's also has a busy schedule, so she wasn't able to do it this year. And we're going to miss them, but we have really, really great actors coming in to play them. This year to play Elwyn, we have two actors that are going to be splitting the role. We have Peter Breitmeyer, and Elwyn is the character who came back, the rich guy. So Peter Breitmeyer will be playing that for the first 2 weeks, and he's a very funny actor. He's done a lot of work out here, and he's kind of known like in the Progressive commercials. He played one of the insurance agents from the other company that Flo is, and he's so he's going to be playing Elwyn the first 2 weeks, and then we have JP Manu coming in for the last week, and they're going to be great. We just had rehearsed last night with them. They're hilarious. We have Andrea Hutchman coming back to play Margie. She's been playing Margie over the years. She comes from Chicago and also the Minneapolis scene. And we have Serena Irwin, who's going to be playing Carol and Brandy. She's been playing that role for the past 6 years or more. And she's great. And then she can't do 2 nights, so we're going to have Chloe Taylor play the part for 2 nights. And we're excited to have Chloe in the show. She's another group that, I mean, she came through a group of us that all work together. Chloe's done some plays with Justin Tanner. So that's how we got to know her. And Justin is another guy that's a fan of the show, and he was in the show last year, but he won't be able to do it this year because he's doing his own play at the Matrix, or over at the Matrix Theater. Not that I want to plug another show that's going to compete with Bob's Holiday Office Party, but Justin's new play, Little Theater, is running at the same time, so Justin can't do it. And Justin has directed the show in the past years, and he's a big fan of the show. Oh, and then who's playing Mayor Roy is going to be Pat Town. And Pat's been doing the show for the past half a dozen years. And Pat is a hilarious actor from Chicago, like a Second City actor. And he's really funny. So it's a great, great cast. We have a lot of fun. Our first rehearsal and read through was really fun to get everybody to get together. Well, we want them to have a great time. In the philosophical thing about theater, we want them to forget the troubles from the past and just enjoy themselves for the hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes of Bob's. So it's just a very silly show. I think I just get people that react to the show in such a nice way, and it's always fun to hear that. So I hope that they can get that out of it. I mean, it's a little bit outrageous. I mean, people come in and I'm always concerned that people might, well, not that they're going to get offended, but if they, we make fun of a lot of things, and it can get really, I call it it's like a play version of The Hangover or something like that. It's kind of an R-rated play. But 2 weeks ago, I went to see a friend do stand-up comedy, and there was a woman that I was talking to afterwards, and she was looking at him. She goes, "You look familiar. What have you done?" And I really, since COVID, I haven't been doing too much performing. And I said, "Well, I don't know. I do comedy here and there." And she goes, "Do you do a play?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm getting ready to do a play, Bob's Holiday Office Party." And she goes, "You're Bob. Oh, you're Bob. Oh my God, I love that show." And she started telling everybody around the lobby area about our show. And she had come to see it with her brother had brought her to see it. And then she's bringing more people. And that's we find that happens with people that it's just kind of infectious, and then people come back year after year. And we'd really, I started noticing that maybe 10 years ago when I was over at the Hudson Theater, which is a small theater. And I went out to the lobby, and there were all these people standing there, and they were saying, "Oh, hi, it's so good to see you. This show is part of our holiday tradition." And I kind of heard that, but that's when it really started to hit me that people come back to see the show year after year. And in the past, we've had groups rent a bus, and come in a party bus. We've had people dress up sometimes they dress up in characters from the show, or they'll wear, those crazy Christmas sweaters. And so they really get into that. And it's just it's really, really wonderful to see that. And we did an event and we're going to do that this year, where we had an audience talk back, where we came out and talked to the audience after the show on a Saturday night. And I think it was Melissa who started asking people, she goes, "I've got a question. How many people have seen this show for the first time?" And there was a few people that raised their hand. "Now, how many have seen it 2 times?" And then a couple other people. "And how many have seen it more than 4 times?" And then more people raised their hand. "And how many people have seen it like 8 times?" And then the whole crowd had raised their hands. And I was amazed that people come, well, not amazed, but just really honored that people come back to see this time after time. Well, it's the first time we've been at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. That's one of it. It'll be a fun experience for all of us. I'm excited about it because it's it has a reputation to it. It just sounds great. The Beverly Hills Playhouse. And it's been Alan Barton, who runs the theater, told us that it's a 100-year-old building. I don't know I should look it up, but I don't know how long it's been there. But you go in there, and it's a very intimate space, and it's a very, I think it's going to be a great place for us. It has a lot of history to it, and they must see it there because that's the only place it's going to be this year. But I think people must come to get on the Bob's train and find out what it's about. Over the years, we've had people that there were some actors that would come up to see our show on a Sunday night after they had done the Christmas Carol down at South Coast Repertory. And I've learned that after a few years, that it was kind of their tradition. So they would do their show. I think it was I don't know if it was like after their last show on a matinee, and they would rush up to see our show. And that guy, his name is Don Took, was an actor in the Christmas Carol. And I got to know him. And one year I was in June, I was in New York City, and I was on the subway. I'm just riding the subway like you do in New York. And this guy was sitting down in the chair, or in the seat at a subway. They don't have chairs in the subway, but the seat. He leaned over to me, and I was standing there like holding on to the strap or the pole. He leaned over to me and he goes, "Is there going to be a Bob's Holiday Office Party this year?" And I went, "What? Who are you?" And it was Don Took, and he was this actor from the South Coast Rep. That was really fun. So I'm thinking of the people that have come over the years. Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, is a fan of the show. He's come almost every year. And he heard about the show because a friend of his who teaches theater over at Occidental College at the theater department would bring his students, and brought Matt one year. And so Matt comes back to see the show. And then, there's just, I'm mentioning people that are actors, but there's just the everyday people that write me. I always get emails around the early fall or late summer about where's the show going to be this year. So it's wonderful, and it's kind of like, so I'm going to do it again this year, I guess. I don't know if I'll ever stop. This is the 25th year. And the first year back, that's the other reason why people should come see it. It's the first year back after COVID. So we haven't done it since 2019. Well, I think the thing about the play is that it's kind of about a small town. I mean, it's all about a small town and the community and the characters, and they all, even though they're different characters and they kind of have their arguments, there's a real sense of community to the town, and that's part of the arc of the show. But I would hear people talk about it afterwards. Whether people are from even the East Coast or the West Coast, they can relate to these small town characters. And I even had a friend who was a director who is from New York City, and he was really, there was something he said about those people that's just kind of a heartwarming story about how they feel about each other. And hopefully we're trying to get that apart, especially in these times, as character Joe says, in these times of pain and suffering, we can get together and have a sense of community. So that's kind of the arc of it. It's kind of a little bit of It's a Wonderful Life, that kind of a positive story. It's all the mayhem and the spilled drinks and the cheese balls. Well, my name is Rob Elk, and I play Bob Finhead in Bob's Holiday Office Party. And the show is running at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, opening this Friday, December 2nd, running Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're going to be closing on Sunday, December 18th. So that's 9 shows only at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. And you can go to www.bobsofficeparty.com for tickets.
I think that COVID-19 notwithstanding, we had reached in that almost 2-year period of time, it's hard to believe, we had reached in that at the end of that 2-year period of time, an end to an era that had kind of come over us like a little bit of a cloud that had kind of shut out some sun. And I think people had we started to notice that there was a bit of a decline in our people would characterize it at the South Coast Repertory. I'm not putting words in their mouth, I don't think, but as a difference in the way people were accessing entertainment. They weren't necessarily purchasing a season of something. They would maybe buy a single ticket to a play that they thought was nice or that they might enjoy. And one of the things that they did seem to regularly enjoy was Christmas Carol. And I think that this was an opportunity. We knew if we brought this back and gave them their opportunity to come to the theater and realize the joy of sitting in that audience with some fellow theater goers, even masked, and enjoying a play that they knew from when they walked through the door that they were going to go on a journey that was going to give them joy and a sense of wonder about what good things might lay ahead in this new year, hopefully post-COVID. But at any rate, and I think that what made me want to do it was the opportunity to bring people back to the theater for an evening of theater. And theater is a special thing. It's not theater ER, not the building, because it's just a building. It's a pretty building, but without something going on that stage, which is theatrical, which engages the audience in the storytelling. So we're doing 80 to 90% of the storytelling, the physical heavy lifting, but there's a good 15, maybe even 20%, some say 10, but there's a measurable percentage of that storytelling which the audience is doing with us. And you're part of that storytelling. And you can only be aware of that really sensory as an actor on stage when there are children in the audience. And they just get so wrapped up, and the parents get so wrapped up in those children seeing it and enjoying it, that over the years, they've come back time and time again, bringing those kids as they grow up until those kids have grown and are bringing their own kids. And so I think that I wanted to be part of that, to bring people back to a theater that I started when I was a teenager. I mean, literally, I was 19 years old. This is approaching 60 years in this county. And we have been the theater that has endeavored to provide that theater service to this county and to Orange County theater goers, not because we all wanted to be the stars, because we weren't always the stars, or that we wanted to own the county, no, or that because we wanted to make tons of money, because theater is not notorious for being a way to great economic wealth. It's really done by people who just love to do it, and seen by people who, if they haven't found the love, they're going to find it again, and start, I would say, by coming to Christmas Carol, because it has all those things that if you've been before, you remember loving. And if you haven't been, you will find again in this production of Christmas Carol. I'm told that is very true. And I feel that if you think you can trust me for almost six decades of doing this, I think I know it when I feel it. And I feel it about this show. It has that ability to bring you out of these doldrums and point you in the direction of some hopeful thoughts and feelings for the new year. So we're open. Come see us. Hello, Richard Doyle, founding member SCR. And if you want to learn more about what's going on there, then watch this video and tell your friends about it too. And tell your friends about SCR. Come see us. I could tell you, as even a 10-year-old child, watching that, I still remember that. And I didn't have very many visual theater experiences to relate to at the time because there was no TV in Italy at that time. This was 1952, something like that. And so most of the theater I heard was on recorded albums or plays that I read that my brother left around that I looked at. And so it stuck with me, the performance, even though it was done by young, high school students. My brother, was quite good as Scrooge, but he was still a 17, 18-year-old kid. But it stuck with me, that transformation that Scrooge went through and all the ghosts coming to impact on him, telling him that the good things that had happened in his life. And I thought, that's an amazing kind of story. And I was a storyteller, and I would relate the story. I would take over if my mother and father had guests over to our house, and they allowed me to stay up. I would often, pigeonhole some of the gathered guests with my storytelling, which oftentimes left reality behind, and I had to be corrected by my mother that what I was saying was, a little bit perhaps not supported by facts. And of course, I would answer that by saying, well, people would ask me, well, you don't seem old enough to have done those things, Ricky. And I landed on the idea that, well, these things happened to me when I was older. And I seem to think that I answered the questions. But anyway, I loved telling stories, and I latched onto that story from Christmas Carol. My mother said I would retell it oftentimes using other people as the characters in the story. And I think that I carried that forward. And when we got into San Francisco and I got to work with these professional actors, I also got to understand the idea of characterization and people playing different roles. And in the Christmas Carol, it was the idea that the core company, made up of many gifted character actors, we were going to play several different roles. And even though I wasn't playing Scrooge, I liked the idea of playing one character, say, playing Fred, or playing one of the solicitors, or playing a ghost, and then putting on a different costume or some makeup, or maybe different, beards and mustaches and sideburns and what have you. That would give me a chance to tell the story from many different ways. And I think audiences came to appreciate that form of storytelling. And in fact, I actually think that play, under John David Keller's direction, the early direction, and with Jerry's adaptation and Hal's portrayal, as it grew over the years, it began to attract people to the theater in general. I mean, not just theater SCR, but theater RE. The idea, this is kind of fun. This is like going to a storyteller session. And I oftentimes, when I talk to young actors, I say, you're part of a very, very old trade. And they always think I'm referring to, the Greco-Roman theater or something of that nature. And I said, no, this goes back to early man, when that one outcast in the tribe who wasn't a very good hunter and hid behind the rocks and trees would come out after the kill was made and everyone was sitting around the fire with full bellies, having devoured some of the woolly mammoth. He would come out and retell the events of the hunt around the fire, and he became the tribe storyteller, which may have saved his life in the long run, because he couldn't do what other people did, and he might not have been afforded any of the food, but he earned it by telling stories. And I tell them, that's what you are, that very old tradition of telling stories about the lives of the people who are seated around that fire. And that's what we do. And that's, I think, the attraction of Christmas Carol, is that it came to relate to the audience gathered there, stories about them as much as about the characters in the play. And I think they sit there pulling for the eventual epiphany that that Scrooge has, that I think when they jump to their feet, not taking anything away from the enjoyment that they're having, I think that they are applauding themselves in as much as anything, saying, yeah, we're good people at heart. There's goodness here. There's more good than evil, and good triumphs, at least tonight. And I think that's what attracts me to being part of it. I can say what I've just described to you about the experience of the play for the audience goes triple this year because of the COVID thing, and because people have been so encumbered by all the COVID restrictions in place and the protocols, that the idea that even though they have to come to the theater and be vaccinated or have proof that they are currently immune from any virus infection, that even though they have to wear the masks, there is a release that the show provides, the experience as audience going through this evening, going through Scrooge's journey and being engaged with the cast as they carry Scrooge along through this journey to his epiphany. That feeling is so important to us as a culture. And if I could say anything to people that watch your Zoom or that hear what we're doing here today, I would say, we're open now. So come and see us and experience theater and experience this particular piece of theater, because really it, as much as anything we do, invites you to join in, because audience is really a part of live theater, more than in a movie theater. Not to take anything away from motion pictures or television. I've been part of that entertainment industry as well. But the live theater is there's a synergy that exists between the audience and the actors on stage. We work together to bring all of us to that moment at the end that hopefully you are just so taken with what you have just seen and so reassured that life is going to be better and as good as it is and can get better if we just join together as we are tonight in the theater and take in the story and really enjoy what it has to offer and share it with all the audience around you. I think there's an interesting story that's told about a study that was done about theater audiences, and that there is a point in the evening in the theater when people are engaged and really drawn in to the experience of the theater and reaching the point where the story reaches its peak, where the audience is so engaged that they become almost one with what they're watching. And at that point, they test the pulses of the audience, and they all have, as one organism, kind of the same heart rate. So people get drawn in so much so that they become one. And now that can't be expected for all productions. And I certainly have been in shows where people have differing senses of how to relate to what they were seeing and how relevant what they're seeing was to their own personal lives. And thank you for enduring those performances. We know there are going to be some of those, but Christmas Carol is not one of them. It's one you will join in. I can almost promise you that. And that's why I like to be engaged in Christmas Carol. And besides, in all honesty, the challenge of undertaking this monumental journey that this man has to go through. And though I have watched it as other characters, I have not portrayed that character. And just to put in the back of your psyche that the performance that they saw of the earlier version of this production, that was a performance that was developed over 40 years of performance in front of different audiences with a lot of input from different casts, some fine actors having played the roles, and also many different changes that Jerry very graciously stepped in and made little tweaks here and there. The performance that you saw just recently Buell, that performance was achieved in one rehearsal period over 3 or 4 weeks with a relatively new cast, including a new me. But everything was there. Everything was planted in there for us because we had all been part of it. Many of us, only a few had seen it or been part of it, but many of us had been part of that experience, including the audience. And it was so reassuring to step out there and go through the first few scenes and realize, oh, it's still there. It's still working. It's still got the audience engaged. And that was very reassuring. And it just made us all feel really good that the audience was hearing it and enjoying it once again and being back in the theater again. That's such a great feeling. I think that, and again, John David Keller's production, Hal Landon's performance, Jerry Patch's adaptation, and all the shows that were done, many of which I was part of, they were all great shows. But the great thing about theater, it's an interpretive art. And so we were able to join that adaptation for the first time, Hisa and I, Hisa Takakuwa, who was the director, and Hisa and I had a chance last year to do the recorded novella of Christmas Carol, which of course the novella is it's a book, and that is not a play, and it has to be made into a play. And that's what Jerry did. And so we visited the novella, and then I recorded the novella as a voiceover, a placekeeper, essentially, for our audiences, because we weren't going to have a live show last year. So Hisa and I worked on that. She became what we refer to in the voiceover world as a booth director in her home, sitting like you are, Buell, at a screen. And I became a voiceover talent, which I am. Sitting at my home system. You can't see it here, but I have a recording system here in my home. And I recorded that novella much as Charles Dickens would have done when he read it for a Victorian audience back in the 1840s. And we gave that to our subscribers. And that opportunity that Hisa and I had to do that as a team gave us a kind of teamwork relationship. And in that relationship, we discussed what we both wanted from this production to be more prominent than what we had seen in previous incarnations of the show. And basically what that was, we wanted all of those vignettes, if you will, with all the ghosts to be as able to move Scrooge back into those moments and be as affecting to him and the audience as we could make them dramatically without slowing down the pace of the show, keeping the show moving, but showing that we were engaged in storytelling primarily. And this is part of the story. So things like the scene with Marley. The scene with Marley is not so much about Marley coming through the door and being a very scary figure, which he has always been. Going back to Don Tooke's Marley, who was very scary. But now he is Scrooge's friend and partner, going way back to Fezziwigs. And now he appears as a spirit, warning Scrooge if he doesn't change. And we have to know that Scrooge is deeply affected by this because of their friendship, because he's seeing him and he needs for Marley to help him, tell him what to do, tell him what he's doing. And Marley leaves. He only tells him that he has an opportunity to change what will come. And then when we go to the Ghost of Past, who is Jennifer Parsons, a wonderful actress, and my wife, who also happens to be here in the apartment, so I have to be careful what I say about her. And anyway, she comes and she shows me all these things, reminds me about where he was born in the country, reminds me about his school that he went to and his school chums and how they went home for Christmas and he could not. And some of the dark times in his life when he was a child, and dark times but that were made lighter when Fan shows up and says he gets to come home because Fan, his wonderful, kind, and cheerful sister, a really bright spot in his life, he'd almost forgotten about her. He put that out of his mind as if it never existed. But it's because of her that he even exists, really, because she puts that red scarf around his neck and drags him off back home again for Christmas. A red scarf, which we wanted to be sure reappeared in the story so that the audience made the connection. Oh, this is one of the driving forces that brings him back. We wanted them to know the story behind the story, which is really what drives any play. And sometimes we get to need so much to get to what the good parts are when Scrooge comes back to us as a human being again, that sometimes we skip over the things that really brought him there. And so that's what Hisa and I did in this production, was to focus on those moments, his understanding of Fred's life now, his nephew, and his understanding of what he missed about his life that he brought forward from Fezziwigs, because Fezziwig was such a nurturing person. Even though Scrooge didn't have a nurturing father, he had many nurturing people in his life. His Fan, his Fezziwig, who made him feel like a human being and made him feel like he wanted to be part of what Fezziwig was doing. And he forgot that he had someone whom he was basically mentoring. It was his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who he had been kicking around for years. And suddenly in that scene with Past, he realizes, I don't know why, but I feel like I would like to say something to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. And he doesn't even know what he's going to say. He just is somehow, he's been carried away by this experience of seeing Fezziwig again. So we wanted to invest in those moments as we went along so that we got to the end. The audience not only enjoyed the end, but now in the show, when they see that red scarf come out, I hear people in the audience say, oh, it's the red scarf. It's the red scarf again. It's his red scarf. And I love that idea in storytelling. It sends chills up my spine when I think about it. And then, of course, wonderful Hal was able to do that great somersault on the bed and grab his hat. And of course, I am quite a bit further along than Hal was when he started. So I have to demur to him on that particular physical attribute. But we needed something to put a cap on the end of that bedroom wake-up scene. And we came up with the idea of Scrooge puts his hat back in the armoire, not thinking, and goes ahead and gets dressed. And then the hat reappears, and I don't want to give away anything to our viewers who haven't seen it, but the hat reappears with an interesting and uplifting kind of new sentiment around the hat that he says he never goes anywhere without his hat. And he pops it on his head, and off he goes on his Christmas morning epiphany, as he meets all the people that he engaged with in a kind of a Frank Capra movie moment, as he meets all these people who actually were people he had seen on the street before, but somehow they've come back now as ghosts in his dreams. But he sees them again as who they were in his real life. And I love that moment too, because it's a bit of storytelling as well, until he finally ends up back with his nephew in that scene at Fred's, which is a scene that has always filled my heart with a lot of joy. And I think judging from how our audiences are responding to it, it still has that effect on people. And I'm very glad for that. I am supported by a wonderful cast of people. I won't go into naming them all, but they all know that I respect them, highly respect them. They were very respectful of me and very supportive of me. And I can tell you that something like this doesn't happen in a void. You need an ensemble of people. And these are definite ensemble players. They support the truth of every character in the show. And there is no character in the story that needs the supportive truth of all his fellow ensemble members as Ebenezer Scrooge, and they are there for me every moment of this performance. I stand on stage and look around and see it in their eyes. Believe me, you are going to see an ensemble performance that I think is very moving. I think that it is unique, I have found, because it is the embodiment of a resident professional theater. And I mean that because we all grew up here. I mean, I literally grew up here. From my teenage years, I raised my families here. My son and his grandson, my daughter and her 3 grandchildren. My mother and father lived here. Actually, they lived in Lakewood, but they came here to see the theater. I have so many friends. All my doctors are here. All the restaurants that I enjoy are all here. And the people who live in this county and who inhabit the various educational institutions, UCI notwithstanding, all these people who are here who have supported the theater, they are part of the SCR community. And if you are a writer who is seeking to find a place to have your text, your work of theatrical literature seen and enjoyed and engaged with by a very smart, engaged audience, SCR is a great place to do it. And SCR has always been, from my very earliest memories, a play about, or rather a theater about the plays, about the text, about the writers. All of our new plays, all of the plays that we do, new or old, chestnuts, or plays that are classical plays, all of them, the focus has always been on the text. Just veering away from SCR for a second, speaking about text, I became, about a decade ago, actually several decades ago, I became a voice talent. And in the world of voices, you don't have scenic support. You don't have other actors around helping you, unless you're doing an animated series, which I've done. But a lot of the narrations that I have done, including I narrate for the Pageant of the Masters, I've been there for about 10 years. All of those narration venues, or all those narration jobs for documentary films and what have you, they all rely on the text, and it's all in the words. The story is in the words, and in the way the words are punctuated, and the way the sentences are put together. And working directly with the writer, you work to develop that story from just the words. And I became so aware as I became a voice talent, more so than I had ever been, how important text is. And when you come to the theater, you're going to hear stories. You're going to hear plays that maybe you might have seen somewhere else and not noticed before. That, oh, I see now what that's about. And at SCR, you will always see and hear the stories told very clearly and succinctly by very gifted professional artists. And that's the other thing that I love about SCR, is that even back in the day when we actually weren't paid, even though some of us were professionals, we still worked at SCR because we longed for that stage experience where the text and the story was primary, not the star that was saying the words, or how celebrated the person was that was engaged in the play, or how famous the play was, but it was about the story within the play. And we were all trained to tell those stories. I became even more trained to tell stories as a voice talent. And when we came to this production of Christmas Carol, Hisa and I wanted very much to be sure we focused on those central issues within those individual stories within the larger tale of A Christmas Carol. And I think when you come to SCR, not only in Christmas Carol, but when you come to SCR as a patron or as a theater goer to see whatever we're doing, you're going to hear the story, and you're going to see that story told in all of its facets. And I love that about a professional theater. And by facets, I mean, you see the story told in the costumes, in the lighting, in the scenic development, in the soundscapes that people don't even realize sometimes, that the soundscape sometimes begins when you walk into the theater. You're not even aware it's going on, but it's being planted in there. All these little tidbits about the story you're about to see unfold. And that's a professional rep theater. And that's been in SCR's mind from the beginning, even though, in all honesty, from the beginning, we didn't have the funds or the wherewithal to do all the things that we now can do. But even in the beginning, we had it in our minds to focus on doing them. And I think that even at the beginning, that's what drew people to go to a little 80-seat theater in an old marine swap shop and buy a ticket just to see what this South Coast Repertory thing was about. And lo and behold, it's about A Christmas Carol. Come and see it. Hello, Richard Doyle, SCR founding member since the early days of SCR. And I just wanted to say to you, thank you if you have been a patron of SCR or a theater goer at SCR. And if you hadn't been back in a long while, please come back. We are open and we would like you to come and see us. And if you'd like to, you can come and see The Christmas Carol, although I wouldn't recommend it. Whenever anyone says Christmas to me, I say, bah, I'm back. Now, please come see us and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care.
There are Christmas carols, to be had other than ours. And I think what we've always tried to do is to do one for our community, for Orange County. I would say what's different about ours, aside from the fact that we've worked on it for a long time and I hope refined it, is the music that we bring to it, the children we bring to it, and the accessibility. Hi, everybody. I'm Jerry Patch. I'm the resident dramaturg at South Coast Repertory and also the adapter of A Christmas Carol. It's a show that has been running for 41 years, so we must be doing something right. And if you haven't seen it, by all means, come and check us out this year. It's certainly worth your time and a great way to celebrate the holidays. And if you have seen it, come on back. We miss you.